The chandelier light of La Perla trembled softly against the polished marble floor, scattering gold across white linen and crystal glasses as if the restaurant itself were holding its breath. It was Friday night in downtown Chicago, and La Perla, owned by the notorious but rarely seen crime figure Lorenzo Enzo Marino, was alive with quiet tension beneath its elegance. Politicians laughed too loudly. Businessmen pretended not to notice the men in tailored suits stationed by the doors. A string quartet played Vivaldi, though even their bows seemed hesitant, cautious not to strike a wrong note in a place where mistakes carried consequences. And weaving between tables like a shadow trying not to disturb the light was Sofia Bellini, the shy waitress no one ever noticed, until that night. Sofia was 23, small-framed, soft-spoken, with dark hair tied neatly at the nape of her neck. She had the kind of presence that folded into corners and stayed there. Guests rarely remembered her face, but they always remembered the warmth in her service. She never met eyes for too long. She never spoke above a gentle murmur. To most, she was invisible. But invisibility can be a shield, and sometimes, a secret. The doors opened at precisely 8 o'clock. The quartet stopped mid-note. Every conversation in the restaurant died as if someone had cut the power to sound itself. Through the doorway stepped an elderly man in a charcoal three-piece suit, silver hair combed back with old-world precision, posture straight despite his age. His eyes were sharp, Sicilian sharp. Beside him stood Enzo Marino himself, Chicago's most feared underworld figure, a man whose name traveled through whispers and closed doors. But tonight, he walked half a step behind the old man. This was Salvatore Marino, Enzo's father. The patriarch from Sicily. The man whose approval shaped empires. Word had spread that he was visiting from Palermo. No one expected him to come to La Perla in person. Yet here he was, stepping onto American soil like a king inspecting foreign territory. Managers rushed forward. Security stiffened. Guests stared into their plates. Sofia stood frozen near table 12, clutching a tray of sparkling water. She hadn't seen her own grandfather in 12 years, not since her family left Sicily under complicated circumstances no one talked about. But the moment she saw Salvatore Marino's face, something ancient stirred in her chest. Not fear. Recognition. Enzo pulled out a chair for his father at the center table reserved exclusively for him. The old man sat slowly, surveying the restaurant with the calm authority of someone who didn't need to speak to command obedience. The manager approached nervously. "Mr. Marino, welcome to La Perla." "It is an honor." Salvatore raised one hand slightly. Silence fell again. His eyes moved across the staff, and landed on Sofia. She felt it like a physical touch. The weight of a patriarch's gaze. Every instinct told her to look down. To disappear. But instead, something older than fear rose inside her, the lullabies her nana used to sing, the dialect woven into childhood summers in a tiny Sicilian village near Palermo. The dialect her parents warned her never to speak in America. The dialect that carried history, pride, and danger. Before she could stop herself, Sofia stepped forward. Her voice trembled at first, then steadied. "Buona sera, patri di rispetto. La casa six saluta como un figlio se torna alla sua radice." Good evening, father of honor. This house welcomes you like a son returning to his roots. The air shattered. Glasses paused mid-air. A fork clinked against porcelain. Enzo's head snapped toward her so sharply one might think he'd heard a gunshot. The dialect wasn't standard Italian. It was old Sicilian. Rural. Intimate. Respectful in a way that acknowledged hierarchy without submission. Salvatore Marino's eyes widened, not in anger, but in shock. No one in Chicago spoke to him like that. No one. For 3 eternal seconds, silence ruled. Then the old man stood. The entire restaurant tensed. Security shifted their weight. Enzo's jaw hardened. Salvatore walked slowly toward Sofia. Each step echoed against marble. Sofia's pulse roared in her ears. She realized what she had done. She had broken protocol. Spoken out of turn. Exposed a part of herself she had sworn to bury. When he reached her, Salvatore studied her face closely. "Cu tia insigna a pararia cusai?" he asked softly. "Who taught you to speak like that?" Sofia swallowed. "Mi nonna, signore. A Monteleper." The name of the village lingered in the air like incense. Salvatore's stern expression cracked, just slightly. "Monteleper," he repeated, almost to himself. Enzo stepped forward cautiously. "Papa, if she has offended." Salvatore lifted his hand again. Enzo stopped mid-sentence. The most feared Mafia boss in Chicago had just been silenced by his father without a word. Salvatore turned back to Sofia. "Come ti chiami, Pixarita? What is your name, little one?" "Sofia Bellini." The old man smiled faintly. "Bellini, DCUI? Of which family?" Sofia hesitated. The Bellini name carried history in Sicily. Not criminal. But proud. Independent. Farmers who once refused to sell land to certain powerful families.